Hi, everybody, the Friday Live. And so today we're going to be talking about apart from Him. Because today's reading, the saying was, apart from you, I have no good thing. Psalm 16, 1 through 2, I think. Anyhow, so what does that mean? Apart from you, I have nothing good. And we sometimes read the words. Do we really know what it means? And to me, it means that if we're sinning, if we're not obeying His laws, if we're not sacrificing or doing the things that we should do to stay close to God, like praying and doing those things, because God said He will hold nothing back, nothing good back for those who love Him or those who walk in His ways. So basically, if we're not following His precepts, let's say if we're willing to sacrifice sleep for righteousness sake, to do something right, and a lot of us do it for jobs, so we could do it even when we don't have to. And if we're willing to sacrifice ego, if we're willing to sacrifice curiosity, if and sometimes we're not willing to sacrifice dark movies, or we're not willing to sacrifice our a holiday that we like because of the decorations, like Halloween, but we're celebrating evil. And it God said it's a narrow road to heaven and few will find it, and few find it because it's not easy. It's actually going against the flesh and going against worldly ways. And then we wonder if God said my plans for you is to prosper and to be happy and to be of good health, if that is not happening, then we have to check ourselves. Are we really loving Him? Are we loving Him the way that we should? And so He asks us to be saints, and I know a lot of us think that's an impossibility and it's a far fetch, but it is His will, so we have to at least try. And a fast track would be any uh, they say only confess mortal sins, but I would confess venial sins too, because a saint said that it's good to confess venial sins often because they prevent you from committing mortal sins. And besides, how do you know what's a venial mortal sin? There was a time that I saw the 10 commandments, and under each commandment there was 50 things that pertain to that commandment, and I didn't even know that was a sin. For example, gossiping, it's killing of somebody's reputation. It falls under thou shalt not kill, and therefore a mortal sin. But they advertise it and they glamorize it in billboards, gossiping over coffee and things like that. So those are the ways of the world that trick us, that make us believe that it's a good thing when it's actually not a good thing. And so I just don't take any chances, because in if you want to get technical, if you want to, in our reality, any disobedience to God, whether it be small or big, whether we justify it or not, is not loving Him with all your heart, mind, and soul. And that's breaking the first commandment. So, how badly do you want to get better or sanctify or not commit that same annoying, uh, making that same annoying mistake you keep making? And so, not to have to confess that sin, the priest must be bored of us and probably knows our sins by heart. I think it's time we try to at least stop, or try something different, but never stop trying. Still confess. And even if it's a small sin, I would just, I hold back from receiving the Eucharist because I don't know if it's a mortal sin. And I'd rather humble myself before God than to be wrong. God knows my heart, and He's not limited to the Eucharist. He will still fulfill me if He wants. He can still be my transparent Eucharist through, if I pray for the spiritual communion, and of course, an act of contrition has to be before that. And so sometimes I feel even more blessed when I don't receive, just because God appreciates that I did the right thing and He rewards me so. And so, I mean, I'll give you an example. My daughter was talking about going out in Halloween, and she knows that we've spoken about that that's a day of prayer and fasting, and it's actually a sad day, not even to be considered a holiday or a day to do something entertaining. And I don't want to participate in anything fun that day. And well, when she insisted, I sounded annoyed. And well, she saw it as I got angry, and I didn't think so. She said I should confess, and I didn't think so. I thought, well, I didn't get angry. It definitely wasn't wrath. And yeah, I got annoyed. But is that enough? And it doesn't matter. It's how she saw it. And it was a good example for me to hold back from receiving the Eucharist and confess first. Because in that way, she will watch herself too. And she feels loved and believed and validated. And it's my way of making it up for her. And penance, because I don't like I don't like going through a whole Mass and then not participating in the highlight of the Mass, which is receiving the Eucharist. That's a very big deal to me. So that's something I'm definitely not going to repeat. Because I don't want to miss out on receiving the Eucharist again. So if I don't want to repeat a behavior, holding back from the Eucharist is a big deterrent, because there isn't always opportunity to confess, and some people don't like your confession. So it's not fun anyway to confess. So holding back from the Eucharist is even worse, and it's a good deterrent. And well, how else are we to get perfect anyway? And God said, be perfect as my Father is. And why is this important? Besides that, we pretty much owe it to God, and we should love Him the way that He loves us. Because when we're not willing to sacrifice the ways of the world or the flesh, God was willing to sacrifice His only Son. Think about that when you don't want to sacrifice sleep. And so, even if you're sick, get up, work anyway. Life still goes on. It doesn't matter. God will provide. He will make sure you're okay. In fact, He'll heal you faster than any medicine can. In these days, sleep isn't enough. And God is showing us that not medicine, not a person, not a thing, and not sleep will heal us. Only He can. And that's what we're seeing these days. And so we just do what's right anyway. And why it's important? Because there's so much going on in the world, and people need our prayers. And our prayers are more efficacious if we practice virtue and we stay close to God. There's little children suffering around the world. There's injustices, and they really need people like you and me to step up to the plate and do what's difficult. And I know that it's not easy, because our environment, it's a constant struggle, a daily battle. But God is with us, and He will strengthen us, and He will guide our steps. So, and it's so amazing when you find out how many good things He does for you. He's dying to treat you like a good father would. What we do for our children, what would God do for us? So, but we have to give Him a chance by being obedient and rebuking evil and not sinning, even if it's difficult, and be willing to sacrifice and accepting the cross with love. It helps us sanctify. And then if it could only be for a day, to feel His glory, to see how good things go. He gives you perfect timing. Everything you do exactly right. Everything turns out perfect. Even crosses turn out perfect. And you're happy with yourself. You react really well to things, and you just have this peace and this joy that the world cannot give. And it takes hard work to get that. And if people were to know what that's like, they'd never want to sin. But I know it's hard, and I fall short every day. But I don't give up. I get back up and I keep trying. And well, I'm happy that now I make it 24 days sometimes. So, but you just have to be vigilant and stay on your toes. And God knows that if you're trying hard and you're seeking Him, you are trying to resist temptation. You're not just going for the first thought that comes to mind, which is a temptation, or the first idea, which is probably a temptation. And you think things through when you ask God to enlighten you. And when you're thinking negative, you dismiss it. You said, God, I am God's. Get behind me, Satan. I belong to Jesus, and I'm covered by His blood. And the devil will throw scenarios at you, temptations, reasons to fear, reasons to have doubt, reasons to be impure, and he excuses it with, oh, it's curiosity, oh, it doesn't matter, oh, it's no big deal. And so if you accept your sin and you call sin, that there's space for God. But when you justify sin, you've booted God out, and there's no room for Him. So we have to be honest, and we have to be humble. I don't know when's the last time. Well, it's very few times I don't see everyone get up to receive the Eucharist. And well, some people may say I'm hard on myself, but I'm trying to become a saint because God wants me to be. As impossible as I believe it could be for me, it's not about me. It's about Him, and anything's possible for Him. And I can do anything through Him. So, but He's not going to do it for me. I have to put in the work. And so the harder you work, the faster you get there, the more you succeed, just like everything else in life. So stay close to God, because everything will fall into place and life will have new meaning. Just every day will be filled with love, and nothing can deter us from our faith. We put full trust in Him, and the darkness becomes light. Night turns into day. You appreciate the dark moments. You appreciate the suffering and the sacrifices, because it's an intimacy felt like you wouldn't have otherwise in normal days with God. And if it brings us closer to Him, then so be it. Bring the rain. But anyhow, guys, I love you. I will always love you. I'm praying for you. And pray for everyone. Pray for the world. Pray for world peace. Pray for families. Pray for the children. I know it's tough, but we're in it together. We're not alone. We're in a field of weeds, not weeds. So just hang tight. Don't lose hope. Keep the faith. And God bless.